Guys, with this one, I'm going to take you through a bit of a routine to warm up your joints. So you could do this at any point before your workouts, after your workouts, or if you just need to get yourself moving. It won't be the exact carbon copy of the Scott Sonnon Intuflow program, which is spelled Intuflow. You can actually obviously look that up, and he's actually got his program for free online that you can follow. I'm going to add in a couple of extra things that I've learnt along the way. So this is worth giving a shot. We do it a lot before our boxing for fitness sessions. Sometimes instead of doing our stretching, we do this joint program. Again, it's just to get all your joints warmed up, synovial fluid to those areas, pretty important, and it's going to make you feel good as well. So we're going to start off with, let's just get our feet shooting forward. Okay, I'm nice and tall through the crown of my head. So when you do this program, just follow me. Pause the video when you need to try out different movements. You might need to do some things in front of the mirror to understand what you're doing, but I'm going to go right through it. You can do it, some of the movements longer or shorter, that's entirely up to you. So, as I said, toes shooting forwards, we're pulling our shoulders away from our ears. All right, for the first thing that we get people to do is just looking over their shoulder. Now this won't be, as I said, the exact carbon copy of what Scott Sonnon does. I might be shortening it a little bit. Okay, but this will do some of the things that we're going to work on today. All right, so we start off with that first. The next thing that we do is we don't just tilt our head up and down. What he does, I'm pretty sure, is he pulls his chin up towards the ceiling, then the roll and tuck. Okay. So just doing that a few times. Okay. Now from there, you can do the head tilts like so. It's nice and easy, not going too far. Right. Then we sort of try and put it together. So I'll do chin to chest, ear to shoulder, head back, ear to other shoulder, chin to chest again. So I'm going to do that a few times. So as I suggested, you can do these things longer or shorter in repetition or duration. That's totally up to you. I'll go the other way. So when I'm saying just do it with me, we're just going to treat it as if this was a class right now. And this is how we're warming up, and we're just going to do it for this full duration of time or for the full video that you see. Okay, next bit is a bit trickier. To break down the movement, I've learnt this from the Ido Portal team. All right, so we're going to do neck slides back and forth, like so. What you might need to do is put, say, your fingertips here on the side of your cheekbones, have them out a little bit, and just try and slide forward, slide back. So you can sort of see what you're doing with your movement. I think the big thing would be trying to reach back a little bit. Again, just being aware of your posture and where you're placed in terms of your feet and your hips. Okay, so there's that one there. This is the real tricky one for most. Fingertips here again, on the side of cheekbones. Fingertips out slight to the side. These are the lateral neck slides. Okay? So you might need to start off small. You might need to just move your fingertips a little bit and just try and work on that. If you can, you remove your hands and you're just doing this. A lot of you guys want to do this. All right, not the end of the world, but you've got to try and isolate the movement a bit more. So I think I was saying at the start of this video that you might need to focus on doing it in front of a mirror to check out your movement. Do that if you need to. Do you need to do this sort of stuff? Not necessarily. I will say that you are unlocking movement in your body, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all long term. So you've done that one, you've done that one. The next trick is putting it together. Fingertips again, out to the side. Try and slide your head forward. Slide your head to the side where you're touching. Back, side, forward. Back, side, forward. So what I try and explain to people, it's like your head is going around your neck almost. All right, then I'll go in the other direction. Okay, so this one takes a bit of practice. You might have to break it down into those 4 movements before trying to circle around. Now, I'll give you a couple of things with the shoulders. Number 1, fingertips interlace. So we'll do this one first. So bringing your shoulders up and around your ears and then dragging them back down again. I'm trying to stay a bit soft through my knees and hips on this one. It just encourages, I feel, a bit more movement through there. Okay? So you can go a little bit faster. Then we can go forward as well. The other thing is, like, as you're doing this warm-up, say for instance you don't feel like doing all the movements, that's okay as well. One at a time backwards now. Can you see what I'm doing there? So you can do it standing upright. I like to just sort of sink my hips into it. Again, I'm just trying to get more movement going on. Not just through my shoulders, but it's almost through like my torso. I'll go forwards as well. Okay. Now from there, turning your hand like so, think finger shooting backwards, just to open up through the shoulders. You can go forwards. I like to try and do this rotation just to open up people's shoulders a little bit more, like so. Okay. So we've got into the shoulders a fair bit. I'll show you one other thing called teacup drill. Now, this is not necessarily a part of the program that I was talking to you about, the Intuflow system. Teacup drill, complexity to it. Nonetheless, do your best. Teacups in your hand, visible teacups. You try not to spill the tea. Okay? One hand at a time. I would suggest washing your hands. You're keeping your hand as flat as possible. Goes underneath the armpit. Elbows locks out. In front of your head, around and over your head, and back to here. Other hand. Flat, over, into here. So, from a coordination point of view, people do struggle with this, and that's okay. My big thing would be think of a spiral and also try and watch your hands. So you understand, again, you're not letting your hand tip over, you're trying to keep it flat. Okay? So we went underneath the armpit. Now we're going to go, it's not to say that we're not going underneath the armpit, but we're going in the other direction. So I like to say the hand comes out, then over the head, back in front again, and then under the armpit like so, and then out. Okay, I'll do it with the other hand. So it's in the reverse direction, so it's behind me first. Behind me first. Okay. So this is not easy, but that's what we're trying to do. So we've gone in both directions. The tricky part is both hands. So I'll go underneath the armpit with both hands. Elbows locked out. Can we see what's going on there? You swap here, keeping your hands as flat as possible, and then you repeat. Underneath, swap again, try and alternate what hand went on top first, as best as you can. Swap again, so I'll do this a few times. So there's a bit of movement going on, not just through the shoulders, but the elbows and wrists, and I would say our upper body as well. Okay, I find the other way the tricky part, so I'm going to go in reverse. So watching me. So almost I'd suggest swap through here. Here. That's hard for me. There, swapping through there. If you don't get this, that's okay. You might need to just practice this movement alone out of the whole program. That would be great in itself. For some of you, it might feel a bit niggly through the shoulders. Okay? You just got to be careful and see whether you can do it or not. So that's a teacup drill. There are other things that you can do for your elbows. You can go like so, invisible textures in hands. We say invisible thick textures in hands, and you're trying to draw circles on the ceiling. I would suggest trying to keep this portion of your arm steady while you're doing it. So you're doing big revolutions through your elbows. You might want to go, well not might, but you go in the other direction as well. Not easy from a coordination point of view, but again, you're trying to get into your elbows a bit here. So I've done my shoulders a lot. I've done my wrists a little bit. Another thing with the wrists, fingers interlaced. Just doing this sort of stuff is good, especially if you're about to hit the pads. So circling everywhere. From there, squeeze and extend. Squeeze and extend. That's nice on the hands. So as you can see, we're just trying to get right through our body. We're trying to warm up everything as best as we can. All right, so we've done our neck, done a bit through the shoulders, elbows, wrists, T-spine. What I want you to try and do is pinch your shoulder blades together. So I'm almost pointing my thumbstick to help out. And then I'll pull my shoulder blades apart. And then call this like a pistol grip. Pinch, pull apart. Pinch, pull apart. So it's essentially like your chest is sticking out and then you're going in the opposite direction by pretty much turning your shoulders in and pulling your shoulder blades apart. So just going back and forth. What most people do need to revert back to is this, just to help out their movement. So you've done that a few times. Next bit, shoulder side to side. So I sort of say, bump the invisible person next to you with your shoulders, okay? Now what people struggle with is trying to separate their torso from their hips. They tend to sort of almost dance side to side. What helps? Trying to obviously keep your hips nice and steady. See what's going on there? I'm reaching out to the side. Elbows are locked out. Try not to do this sort of stuff. You're turning into the Egyptian dance almost. Elbows locked out, reach to the side. Again, it's just separating your torso from your hips. So you've got that. You've done the side to side, you've done back and forth. This is another exercise where you're trying to do a bit of a revolution. Your torso, I want you to visualize your torso going around your hips. So I'll stick my chest forward or I'll pinch my shoulder blades together. I'll bump the invisible person next to me on the left. Then I'll draw my chest in. Okay, I'll pull my shoulder blades apart. I'll bump the other person on my right with my right shoulder. Then I'll stick my chest out again. So shoulder to the left, chest pulled in, shoulder to the right, chest out. Left, in, right, chest out. Now if you feel like you've got that going on, this is what I'm saying, you're turning it into that bit of a circular movement. So you're putting it together. You're trying your best not to move your hips too much. You're trying to get that separation going on. So again, once you've done that a few times, you go in the other direction. I'll reiterate again. If you feel like you need to do this a few more times, before I move on to the next bit, you pause. Or if you just need to work on those movements or the four, all right, even just going back and forth and side to side for a bit, that's okay. Next bit. I love this one. I'm just going to flop my arms a little bit and pivot. Okay, my hips are turning as well, but once I get used to it, I'm going to really try and flick my arms around. Okay, so I'm getting a bit of a twist through my upper body again. Okay, and I'm also really trying to loosen up through my arms. So that would be the next bit. Again, you can do that for as long as you want. Next thing is hip circles, all right? So you can, if you need to, just do this. That's fine, okay? We try and go to a bigger depth through the hip. So we'll break it down a little bit once again. So maybe a bit of width to your feet. I'm going to reach my left hip over this way and reach my finger that way. Can you see what's happening there? Okay, so I'm still pressing my hip to the side, but I'm also reaching over. There's a bit of a stretch going on through here, which is cool. So try not to do, this is what people will end up doing, is this, and they're not actually getting that movement through the hip. So remember, hip goes this way, arm goes in the opposite direction. Once you've done that a few times, next bit for the hip. Squat down as best as you can. Drive your hip forward and squeeze your glutes. All right, from there, drive your hip up and get into your hammies. So squat, hip forward, hip up, get into your hammies. Okay? Once you've done that, okay, once you've got that down pat, those two sort of movements, this is where you try and put it together. So, hip back, or squat almost, hip to the side, that's like leaning over this way, driving your hip forward and leaning back, hip to the other side, back with the hip. Those four movements put together look like this. You might need to control the depth of what you're doing. You might need to back it off a bit depending on your joints. But that's what that looks like put together. I'll go in the opposite direction for you all. So I've always had a bit of a right hip issue. I do have to be careful with this movement. Again, work to your limitations. Okay. Hips we've covered. Upper body we've covered pretty well. Let's get into our legs a little bit more. Couple of options. I'll go over the options. Leg swings. This is great for your balance. So try and get a bit of height to the leg. Okay, so you go out in front, not too far back. Try and reach up in front. So you might do that a few times. You can also do it to the side, like so. Okay, this will challenge your balance, which is cool as well. All right. So the other option is, in terms of hip mobility and working on balance, I like what Ido Portal has done with this. And it's almost like leg or hip going in any direction whatsoever. So he'll stand here, and this will also depend on your level of stability or balance. I've got better balance on my right foot than I do my left, just because my left foot requires a bit of attention at the moment. But nonetheless, this is what it sort of looks like. Okay, so I had to put my foot down, which is okay, but can you see how I'm trying to get mobility and movement in all direction and angles? So for a workout in itself, almost, if you set your timer for 60 seconds and you did that on each leg for 3 rounds, that's pretty full on. Not only are you going to work on your balance and work on mobilisation through the hip, you're going to get your heart rate up a little bit as well. So I'll show you on the other foot. I'll do my best. So the options are leg swings like so, trying to work on your height as best as you can. Okay, to the side. I would suggest probably doing more reps than what I'm doing today. And then from there, both or either or, you can, remember as I was saying, is working on this stuff here. See, I'm just trying to go everywhere, all heights, angles, directions, maybe even bending this knee a little bit. Okay, going from there. Let's move on to the ankles to finish off with. Last little bit. Do a few of these, side to side through the ankle. And up and down. Then I'll circle. And I'll go the other way. I'll do the other foot. Side to side once again. up and down, circle around, other way. Now from there, we've gone through everything. You could go into your toes a little bit more if you wanted to. That's entirely up to you. To finish off with, this is similar to a shakedown drill that we did with Ido Portal, and this is something else my osteo has gone over as a bit of a reset. Is all it is. From here, to finish off with, is just bobbing your knees a bit and just flopping your arms. Just like so. Maybe do that anywhere between 30 seconds and 60. Just like nice and easy, nothing too high, nothing too vigorous, just bobbing those knees a bit, flopping those arms. And that's that, and that's the warm-up program. So, bit of a long video. It is like doing a bit of a warm-up session with me, or even a bit of a workout really at the end of the day. I would do this again, either before workout, after workout, or just a way of getting some good quality movement in for your joints if you need to free up your body.